Okay, my screen is delayed, so Ralph, if you can speak, I will pass this to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our first live broadcast Q&A. I'm Ralph Francisco. I'm the Vice President. We're going to all be introducing ourselves to you. We're going to be taking some questions. Please, no direct questions on benefits. We're not going to be getting into direct benefit questions or pricing information. We're just going to tell you what we're doing, what we're up to, and where we're standing. And we'll have the lawyer here hopefully by 4:20-ish for his update on where we're going legally. So I'm going to turn this back over to the President, Mary Ann Pizzola.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. So what we're going to do is introduce you to everyone. You just met Ralph. We have some of our board members, trustees, and advisors with us today. We want to introduce you to them, get a little report from everybody, and then Michelle, who's our secretary, she will let you know who's not with us today and where they're from, so that hopefully when we do the next one, we can get everybody on the same time. But today our purpose is to introduce you to us, let you know what we're doing, where we stand with our efforts, both in fundraising and legally, which the attorney will give us the update when we can get him on shortly. So welcome, and I'm going to start with Madeline. Madeline is our treasurer, so I'll pass the torch to you.
Hi, I'm Madeline Salerno. I am, as Mary Ann mentioned, the treasurer. I am a civilian. My husband is retired from the NYPD CEA. I'm representing the families and the spouses that are being affected by this. Very quickly, should I give the update now on where we stand? Okay, so right now, to date, we have collected $20,154.36 from 600 people. We do have to allow for expenses. Conservatively speaking, right now, about $2,000 in operating expenses. So I would say we're sitting at about $18,000. If there's any questions, I have 118 checks in my possession. They have not been deposited yet. I'm sure people are concerned about their checks not having cleared. If anyone wants to know if the check has been received, please just ask me. My Facebook name is Carla Barbara. And so that's who I am. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Madeline. So at least everyone knows that where we stand fundraising wise, and that it's absolutely imperative that people donate to this fundraiser if we have a hope of being able to fund this legal challenge. So I'm going to pass the torch now to Michelle. She can introduce herself again to you, and then let you know who is not here on our board today. And actually, I think Lee is in the waiting room. I'm going to bring in Lee. So go ahead. You can go ahead.
My name is Michelle L. Robbins. I'm the recording secretary for the group. As you can see on the page, and everybody will introduce themselves right now. I'm not showing Matt Weber, who is listed as an advisor. He is on our board. Lee Reeves is being brought in. He is NYPD SBA. Len Rodberg, he is a CUNY professor. He was with us earlier, but he had to run out. And I believe that's all right now. I know Matt I saw on a chat, but he's not with us. So that's it. Everybody pretty much is here.
Okay, great. And so for the new people that we're going to introduce today is, Gary, we should also introduce you to Gary again, because we kind of left him off the last one and brought him in the second time. So Gary is our assistant treasurer. Go ahead, Gary, the floor is yours.
Okay. My name is Gary Peters. I'm a retired dentist and school teacher, both for the city of New York. My main career was working for the health department under Doctors Council, where I was also secretary and union delegate. Then at the end of my career, I became a science teacher and worked under UFT. and now I'm a retiree living in Florida.
Very good. Thank you, Gary. So now our newer members of our board is John Murphy, who was installed today as one of our advisors. I'm going to go ahead. You can unmute, John, and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is John Murphy. I'm retired from NICERS, the pension plan. I used to be the executive director there. I've been retired now for 16 years, and I'm really very worried about this new medical plan that they're trying to force on us. So I'm here to help.
And we're glad to have you. Next is Kenny Dolan. Kenny, you can unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ken Dolan. I'm a retired lieutenant, 32 years, New York City Fire Department, and the past president of our Long Island Retirees Organization. So I've been around a while. That's about it.
We're glad to have you too, Kenny. And then Jack, can you unmute yourself? Would you like to say hello? You're still muted. Can you find your unmute button?
Okay, yep.
Okay.
All right.
Introduce yourself to everyone so that they know who you are.
Actually, my name is John Galini, but my nickname is Jack. I'm a retired New York City firefighter. I'm the last living founding member of the New York Firefighters Burn Center Foundation. And I am currently president of the FDNY Retired Firefighters Association. I guess that's about it.
Thank you and welcome. Okay, Lee, you're next.
Okay, do I have to unmute myself?
You're already unmuted.
Okay, my name is Lee Reeves. I did 25 years with the NYPD, half of that as a sergeant. I did a myriad of assignments, mostly patrol, but I was in the tactical patrol force. I was in the police commissioner's ceremonial unit. We conducted all the ceremonies, plus we were in charge of all department funerals. And in Saturday, to be exactly 20 years since we experienced September 11th, and from that day on, we did hundreds of department funerals, and I helped the fire department with their funerals because, you know, they were very low staffed, and it's just a terrible thing. And currently I'm the vice president of the NYPD 1013 Club in Minnesota and Sarasota County. And I've been hearing for the longest time, like last year, my president is on Medicare. I am too, but my wife's not. He keeps on raving about a certain plan, and now I hear that might be in jeopardy. So I'm ready to fight and do whatever I can to get that plan back, because my wife will be 65 in April, and I want, I guess it's no secret, but I want Aetna. I heard it's very good, and actually my wife had that when she worked on Wall Street in the 80s, and it was just an unbelievable plan and association. Unbelievable. Quite different than Emblem, who's paying probably now at maybe 1920 rates. No, I'm kidding. They're probably paying at 1980 rates, 1990 rates, and I can't see why someone is paying at rates that are 20 or 30 years old. So anyway, I'm here to help.
Well, very good, and we're glad to have you too.
Thank you.
The next person is James Kerr. Jim? do you want to introduce yourself? You can unmute yourself too.
Yes, I found the unmute button. That's good.
Okay.
So, hi, my name is Jim Kerr. I am here to advise the board. I spent the last 15 years of my career working with the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and they hold the regulatory responsibility for Medicare Advantage plans. And in fact, one of my jobs at CMS was to have field responsibility for oversight of the Medicare Advantage plans. So I have a lot of Medicare Advantage experience as well as commercial insurance experience. But I got a letter too, because previously I ran the New York City Emergency Medical Service when it was part of the Health and Hospitals Corporation, and I am a City of New York retiree.
Very great, thank you. I believe you were from HHC, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay, who's next? We have opposed changes. Michael, do you want to say hello?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Antwerp. I am the Chief Administrator and founder of Protect Public Traditional Medicare. My Facebook group page consists of 1,600 members, and we are parallel to Marianne's Facebook group page, and we support each other in this fight. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing. I'm part of the advisory committee on this board. Thank you.
Did you also want to give what we had talked about earlier is give your message?
Absolutely, yes. So members, for everybody watching, the first thing I'd like to do, I'm not in a counseling position, none of us are, but it is our opinion that it is best to hold off on opting out. Do not opt out just right now until you get the full amount of information, and until we progress further with our legal action. But now is not the time to opt out in case you've gotten those forms. The other thing I want to say to people watching is, how will you spread this information about this fight, about this injustice, to other retirees and to other civil servants from New York City? How will you reach out? What strategies will you use to inform other people? There are anywhere from 250,000 to 300,000 people affected by this, possibly more. So right now we probably have maybe between 10 and 20,000 people who are aware of this, and that's kind of maybe overestimating it. So it's really critical that we get the word out in any way that we can, verbally or through a system in place, to warn people about why this Medicare Advantage plan is no good and why we are fighting this in order to protect our retirement benefits.
Very good, thank you. And our last person is Matt Weber. Matt, would you like to unmute yourself and introduce yourself and let people know where you're from?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Matt Weber. I had worked at Health and Hospitals Corporation, Coney Island Hospital, back in the 80s. I presently reside in Pennsylvania, and I've been very active. Many of you have seen I've been active on the Facebook page, both the one that is the New York City Organized Public Services Retirees, as well as Preserve Retirees benefits. What I'd like to stress is that I think it's really important that we remain aware of all the folks who are not yet informed about this huge transition that's taking place. So the 2,000 of us that are active on the Facebook page is less than 1% of all affected individuals. So I'd just like to say, let's remain aware of those, try to continue to promote awareness and work towards the injunction, which will put a stop to this. Thank you to everyone for the good work you're doing.
Thank you very much. So it's about 4:20, and we have the attorney ready to come into the room so that we can ask him or have him give us some information, and then we can ask questions. If you're watching this live stream via Facebook, please put your questions in the Facebook chat, and that way we can pull them out and ask the questions. So questions you can ask today is about what our organization is doing, what the attorney is going to do, or what he's looking for, or how you can help us, or what we need you to do, or things like that. We're not going to have a Q&A today about Medicare Advantage plan. This will be about what we are doing in this fight to fight this, this new potential program. So with that, I'm going to bring in Steve Cohen. So Steve is traveling, he's on the road, and he made sure he pulled off so that he's able to chat with you today. He felt that this was really important to make a live in-person appearance. So Steve, welcome. We were letting people know, introducing all the board members that are here with us today to everyone. So thank you for taking a time out of your drive to join our Facebook Live and bring people up to speed about what we're doing. So the floor is yours.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me. As you can see, I'm sitting on the New Jersey Turnpike. And the important news is that every stop every rest area on the New Jersey Turnpike now has electric chargers for cars. So those of us who are neurotic about getting a charge for our underpowered car have that opportunity. All up and down the New Jersey Turnpike. Very exciting. So I'm sitting in the car as it charges.
Okay, that's good. So I'm sure we have expressed to you that people had some questions, and we spoke briefly about it the other day. So I'll give you the floor to speak freely about what some of the things that we talked about that you can share.
I'd be happy to, but of course it's much better if you actually ask me questions. It's my memory, is like that of a goldfish. 3 minutes, I'm gone. But thanks for having me. I've met some of you. I've talked with some of you, and I've gotten emails from lots of you, and thank you for that. I'm Steve Cohen. I'm a partner at the law firm of Paula Cohen in New York City. And for those of you whom I haven't talked to before, we do 3 things, basically. We do what's called whistleblower law. That's key TAMs, False Claims Act, Lincoln Law things. We do class actions, and we do public impact litigation. It's also nice every once in a while to pay people, and we do other things like commercial litigation. We did more of that when we first started the firm. But, when we talk about public impact litigation, one of the best examples of what we've taken on recently, and what you'll either thank me for or blame me for, I'm not sure which, is that we were responsible for the challenge to menthol cigarettes. As you may know, that the FDA outlawed about 15, 20 years ago, all flavored cigarettes. And the tobacco companies had bubble gum and rum and chocolate and every imaginable flavor, except they exempted menthol. And menthol were proven to be the most dangerous of all cigarettes. And we won a big lawsuit almost a year ago now, and menthol cigarettes are about to be banned. And it's going to make a big impact on people's lives. This particular litigation, I think, is really important. Because as I too get older, and as you probably know, I have a Medicare Advantage plan. Things start falling apart on our bodies, and it's expensive. And you want to know that you're covered. And what we know about what the city has proposed and the insurance companies are proposing is clearly a diminution of what you've been getting for years. You've been getting what's known as a Medigap, or a Medicare supplement plan. And no matter how much lipstick they try to put on this pig, a Medicare Advantage plan is not as good as a Medigap or supplemental plan. It just isn't. You don't have the same access to the same doctors. You'll be paying copays. And the thing that concerns me most is that the responsibility for what's called prior authorization for sometimes very routine diagnostic tests like MRIs shifts from an automatic approval to very often an automatic disapproval where you then have to appeal. And the responsibility for that goes from Medicare, which has an approve and then chase the bad guys policy, to the private insurance company, which the American Medical Association has been studying for years, typically says no. You don't like it, you can appeal. So to me, that's the most significant diminution of benefits under this Medicare Advantage plan. Okay, Marianne, what do you want me to address?
Okay. So a couple of the questions that we had was, can you explain how the lawyer will argue?
I argue with everyone. I argue with my wife. I argue with my kids. Here's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try. We believe that an Article 78 petition is the right way to go. And what that means is we're challenging New York City's unilateral decision to switch you from the plan that you have automatically into the Medicare Advantage plan. We think that that is outside the scope of what they are allowed to do. And we think that for 2 or 3 reasons. You'll see me bouncing around. Is it 2? Is it 3? And we keep arguing among ourselves about this. First and foremost, all of you get your benefits, your medical benefits, your healthcare benefits, as a result of collective bargaining agreements that were in place when you retired. And this is an argument that it is a breach of a contract that you have, that you're entitled to these benefits, and they cannot unilaterally breach that. So that's number one. Number two, they have done this without any representation of retirees. The MLC doesn't retire you, and the unions don't. I'm saying retire you, forgive me. The MLC doesn't represent you, and the unions don't represent you. They did this with, they're dealing with things that were negotiated through collective bargaining, and now they're just saying we're going to go around that process. And this comes under the auspices of the Taylor Law. And we think they don't have the authority to do that. And the third is whether there was due process. And I'm not sure there's anything there, but we're still looking at that one. So what an Article 78 petition does is ask the court to say, stop. We're not saying, keep in place what people have had until this goes through a much longer procedure and probably negotiation. Because obviously the city is not going to give up easily on this. The Medigap plan that they pay for costs the city almost $600 million a year. They're not walking away from that. That savings occurs when they switch you to a Medicare Advantage plan, because Medicare Advantage, unlike the Medigap plan, is paid for by the federal government. It's a lot of money to play with, like that. Suddenly find $600 million worth of savings a year, they're going to fight for this. So the objective is just to get the court to say, this was unfair, there's a chance of success, stop, keep everything in place. And then you worry about the next step. And you have to have to get an Article 78, you ask for a temporary restraining order or an injunction, takes a great deal of detail. And you have to provide way more detail because there's no discovery. You have to provide the detail in the filings you make when you file the Article 78 petition. And it includes a statement of all the facts, and it includes a memorandum of law. So we jump ahead in the normal legal process because of this unique type of proceeding. Does that sort of explain what we're thinking of doing? Yeah. I mean, sometimes you feel like I'm talking to lawyers who understand. Sometimes you talk to people who understand more, sometimes less. But you tell me what's clear and what's not.
I understand you. And we can always clarify that later if we have that working understanding.
Of course.
Let's see. So you explained basically what this case will look like, right?
Right.
And is there anything that you need, or that we can, since we have this wide audience right now watching, is there something that they can provide us to provide you to help us or help you?
That's great. Thank you. Yes is the answer. And as you know, we've asked for some, I'll call volunteer potential plaintiffs. And we want people who've retired who worked in lots of different capacities, were represented by lots of different unions. And what we want to say is very specifically, Marianne was an EMT, was a member of this union, was, retired in X year, because what counts, what we want to put into the petition itself, are the specifics that you retired, and when I say you individual, but we want 5 people or 10 people. This was the collective bargaining agreement that was in place when you retired. And if any of you have read the collective bargaining agreements or the memorandum of MOAs, MOUs that came after and continue on various collective bargaining agreements, they are unbelievably badly written with respect to what a retiree gets. Candidly, it doesn't say it in almost any document that you are entitled to anything. It has more about your pension. But when it comes to health care benefit, it says almost nothing. But it makes a couple references, and almost all the CBAs contain at least one and some two. So I'm going to go back to you and address the question you asked. What do I want? I want the collective bargaining agreements that were in place when you retired. And secondly, and as importantly, what is called extrinsic evidence. Some of you got booklets from your union to say, here's how you go about retiring. And some of those booklets actually say the magic words. And those magic words are, you are entitled to what was in place when you retired. It's a little bit roundabout thinking, or circular reasoning, but that's what it actually says in many cases. And the SPD that the city sends out every year now includes that exact language. Retirees are entitled to the benefits that were in place when they retired. So, what was in place? If you remember, very often the city sends out this SPD. Sometimes it has that language, sometimes it doesn't. If you have the SPD that was in place when you retired, that's enormously helpful. Now, obviously, we're looking on the internet. We're using the Wayback Machine. We're going to Cornell into their archives. And if we have to send someone down to, I guess someone mentioned that there was an archive in the city near City Hall. And if we have to go down there to get it, we will do that, assuming it's open. So, but these additional, what's called extrinsic evidence, these brochures, these statements, these letters from unions, detail what retirees are entitled to. And that's incredibly important, to get things that specifically say, hey, you get a Medigap plan that's paid for by the city. Go ahead. I'm sorry, you say something, somebody else says it.
I said okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
One of the other things that is used in assessing, so what are you entitled to, is past practice. If we can say that for the last 20x years, 20 odd years, whatever it may be, a retiree got a Medigap plan paid for by the city in full, that's past practice. You can show that they did it every single year for X years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. That goes a long way to saying to the judge, this is what was vested when someone retired. So we don't want, every we have hundreds of documents already, but we want to literally have documents that are pegged to the individuals who step forward and say, yeah, I'm willing to be a class representative. So we can literally put that contract and that extrinsic evidence to that person's name. That's what we're looking for. Okay?
So our next
By the way, people also send case law, and I appreciate it, but it's really not necessary. We have people scouring Westlaw, and we have hundreds of cases that we've downloaded and we've analyzed. But so while I appreciate, somebody sent me something. Have you seen this case? And they sent me an absolutely on target case called the Andreas case. And trust me, we're thinking about the Andreas case. We have to know how it is distinguishable from the facts here. So I'm less interested in case law. I'm less interested in sometimes legislative history can be really important. what is it that the legislature intended when they passed New York City Charter Code 12126, which says that all employees, retirees, and dependents are entitled to health care up to the dollar level of the HIP HMO, right? That's useful, and we have much of that. I'm sorry, go ahead, Miriam.
Okay, so another question is, when do you think this will get before a judge? When will you be filing the Article 78?
I'm within a month. It's got to be, because you've got to make a decision. And I think it was Gary who asked me a question earlier today. Should people be opting in or opting out of making their decisions now? And my advice is, wait as long as you can. Let's see what
we've been saying that too, because everyone was rushing to fill out the opt-out forms from the internet. And what we said to them was, you haven't even received the official notification yet from the city law department that your package is coming, that this change is happening, and that you need to receive that document before you make a change. Just like we criticize the unions for making a vote without seeing an insurance contract in front of their hands, they should not be opting out before getting that official package from the city. So thank you for clarifying that too.
There's one other thing that's important about that. If you go back to the meetings that took place a month ago, where there were insurance representatives, the package is changing a little bit. It's not quite. You saw the city letter saying you have access to every doctor. You don't have access to every doctor. That's just absolute BS.
Yes.
Just absolute. So wait to see what the actual, here's the plan. Now, do you want to opt out? Part of it says too, you may not even have what's known as ripeness. You can't even bring a case yet because you've not been told officially opt in or opt out. Right? Hasn't happened. No. So the case is not ripe to bring yet.
Yes.
It's an anticipation, and we know it's going to happen, but until we see what they actually say, it's not right.
I understand. I have another question from Facebook. It says, can I be a plaintiff if I'm not Medicare eligible until January, which is after the opt-out period?
I don't think you have standing yet, is my guess. No. Will you be affected by this plan? Look, let's be clear. I think people who retire after January 1st, 2022, this coming January, and here's the legal word, are screwed. I think they are truly screwed because the unions are going to agree and include in the next CBA what you are eligible for is a Medicare Advantage plan over and out. That's it. And they can do that. They can sell you down. They can sell new retirees down the river. And I don't think there's a lot of recourse. There is really not a lot at all for new retirees. They're going to be stuck with this.
Yeah, they may have less choices. And then the concern was too that this will continuously change. The unions will try to modify, impair, alter benefits going forward, so that we need to stay alert. So the other question is, after the article is imposed, will the follow-up plan be to reverse this diminished benefit plan?
Well, that's up to you. Again, and who's going to represent retirees? The city clearly will want to negotiate and encourage, and I'm going to put an even more lipstick on it. They're going to try to bribe and have good reason to try to incentivize retirees to take Medicare Advantage. And look, here's a hypothetical. The city comes back and says, well, we really want to encourage everybody. So here's what we're going to do. The standard plan is your existing plan. But if you voluntarily agree to opt into Medicare Advantage, you're going to get this Medicare Advantage plan, and we're going to give you, I'm going to make this up now, $2,000 to make up all the difference. All the copays and any dislocation and maybe having to go to a different doctor and any inconvenience. And maybe they'll start with, here's $500, and maybe they'll go up to $2,000. And it's very funny. My wife just saw that I just got a text from my wife. She saw that the car is being charged on her phone. So she asked me, when am I getting back to New York? What my wife doesn't know, Elon Musk knows, and Tim Cook from Apple know. This is bloody scary. So let me go back. I think the city is going to come back and try to incentivize, i.e., bribe, every retiree. And if they give you $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000, they're still saving money. Because remember, it's costing them $200 a month, $2,000 a year to pay for this Medigap plan. And if they can put that onto the feds, if the actuary is going to say real quickly, hey, the average retiree is going to be on this plan for 16.7 years or whatever the number is, and you can afford, it's worth it to pay X thousand dollars to every retiree to get them to do that. So I think there's a great deal of leverage that retirees have, in whether you want to keep the plan, but the city is going to try to make it, or should try to make, in my opinion, should try to make it worth your while to switch.
At least it'll open the door to have a conversation.
Yeah, which you haven't had.
No, we haven't. The next question is, what if you were a management, and not a non-union employee? Can you still be involved in this litigation?
Well, the answer is yes. I think so. The answer is yes, because you are still covering. City Law 12.126 doesn't make a distinction between people who are members of union and people who are members of management. You're still entitled to healthcare benefits. And we have to then go back and say, okay, what was the management plan? What did they get? What's the past practice? What is the extrinsic evidence defining what that plan was when they retired?
Okay, so he should still look to see what evidence he has from his agency, even though he's non-union, from his agency that talks about what benefits he would have had in retirement. And forget who the person was that asked that, because I've already scrolled past it, but I will go back to you. If you have something like that, reach out to us. The next question is, will this lawsuit also cover those retirees who are not yet 65 and trailing spouses, all current retirees, or just those people who are currently Medicare eligible?
I'm going to guess that it's just those who are Medicare eligible.
That's what I'm thinking too, because those are the ones that are encompassed in this. That will affect them in the future, but they haven't been harmed yet.
Right, they're not harmed yet. So until they become Medicare eligible, they're still probably going to get the GHI, comprehensive benefit plan, up to that point where they become Medicare eligible, because they're not covered by this Medicare Advantage option.
Right. Is this a class action lawsuit?
It is sort of a class action. So yes, the answer is yes. It's an Article 78 that's representing a class of people, and that class of people are retirees who are Medicare eligible.
Right.
It's a hybrid. It's a weird, vehicle in the rules of civil procedure. It's a special little category all of its own.
So like we talked about, you would have your representative plaintiffs, so your 5 or 10 people, and either et al. Or others similarly situated.
Right.
The benefit would come from those representative plaintiffs, but it would affect all of us at the end.
Correct.
Right. So I'm not seeing, does this affect people granted disability younger than 65? Yes, Anthony, it absolutely does. If you're on Medicare and you are on disability, yes, you are included.
Correct.
Is it true that if you go to the new plan, you are leaving Medicare? Then if that's true, how difficult is it to get back to it? Sandra, I think that
you're not leaving Medicare.
Right.
This is a form of Medicare. I think it's about 30 million people around the country right now have Medicare Advantage plans. And as you've heard me say, I'm one of them. And it has its benefits and its drawbacks. But and Medicare, it's interesting. I care for my 94-year-old uncle, not very well, but I'm involved in his care, and he's paying like $350 a month for a Medigap plan. And we said, that makes no sense because he's living in assisted living. Doctors come to the assisted living place. The purpose of a Medigap plan is to allow you to go to any doctor you want who takes Medicare, and it picks up the other 20%. And it doesn't make sense for him because he doesn't care about which doctors he goes to. Now doctors come to him because he's in a... So, it's... Medicare Advantage is an understandable approach to try to contain medical care costs. You're going to have to forgive me for 1 second. I have to just stop something. Wait, I don't want it to. Okay.
Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to answer a question. So, Renee.
Go ahead. I stopped. No, I didn't blow up the cards. Okay.
Renee, you said your question is, can't the city say that they negotiated with the unions and the unions represent their membership? Well, the answer to that is yes, they do. But you and I, as retirees, are not their membership. No union by law can represent a retiree. And since, therefore, we have no due process in this matter, we are kind of left to the court to try to challenge this. Right. So the answer is yes, the unions represent their membership, but we are not their members any longer. And if I'm correct, I believe you are a former UFTer. UFTers and some NYPDers, they will voluntarily pay a union dues. That is really a solidarity payment to their union for support. Maybe you get a calendar or a card or a pin or something, yeah. But you have no vote, you have no say, you basically have nothing for that. So don't confuse the two, unfortunately. What if this is not decided by January 1st?
Can I get in here, Marianne?
Who said that?
Ken. I believe the UFT, city-wise, the retirees have a weighted vote in their union's decision-making. I believe that's it's something that they have that the rest of us don't have with our unions.
You may be right. By the way, there's also an advisory committee that was just set up, but by law, unions they can represent retirees. But interestingly, in in every single CBA that I have looked at, the word retiree barely exists. Nowhere does it say we represent retirees. Nowhere does it say that retirees can take advantage of the grievance procedure or the arbitration process. So there may be exceptions such as UFT, but in general, it is well established that unions do not represent retirees.
Right.
But we've seen case law where unions have chosen to represent retirees. And there's also case law that says it has to be with the consent of the retiree. Now, I don't know if you took a vote to say, I want you, union, to represent me so that you can take this benefit away from me, but I haven't heard anybody say that.
Steve, can I just ask you a question? Because I think we're getting a lot of confusion, too. If a member is currently retired from the city and not on Medicare, and we get this stop, it would then stop the city from doing that to that member when they reach Medicare eligibility age.
No.
Why not?
Here's why. Because the union can now incorporate into if they choose to, and let's guess that they're going to, they can incorporate into the next collective bargaining agreement that anyone who when they reach the age of Medicare eligibility, this is what's going to be available to them. So it's a gray area. So they've retired. What was in place when they retired? Are they entitled to? No, I'm going to take it back. What was in place when they retired was a Medigap plan. Now, anybody, although they're not Medicare eligible, no, they're going to be okay. It's anybody who retires after January 1st.
Correct.
Anybody who's already retired is fine.
That's what I thought, because it would also be the same thing for your spouse, because if you're already retired and your spouse isn't Medicare eligible, when they reach Medicare eligibility age, if we win, then they would be entitled to the Medicare Senior Care or Medigap insurance program.
Yeah.
I think that answers a lot of people's questions. I'm watching on Facebook. A lot of people are like, well, that doesn't make sense. That wasn't
Remember, wait, Ralph. This is my theory at this point. And you've heard me say a judge can say, hey, I think today is Wednesday. It's not really Thursday. Or maybe it's Friday because it's Friday in Australia, but it's not, you flip a coin. You take your chance with a judge all the time.
Okay.
And it could be rational, it could be irrational. It could be favorable, it could be, hey, I got a ticket to you. I am so pissed off at cops, retired cops. You have no idea. You're not getting the right time of day for me. It happens.
Well, is there anything else that you would like to add so we can get you on your way home?
Yeah, you saw me unplug the charger. Look, thank you for your patience and for your confidence. I know this has been frustrating. I'm really in admiration of what you've done over the last month. Putting this together, getting buy-in, and I apologize for no, I don't apologize for this. I apologize for the fits and starts and for how long it's taken to get this going. I don't apologize for asking for your help because you are all living this and are more knowledgeable, and it affects you. And it's always best when a client is really engaged. It's way, way better. So thank you for that.
Well, we all thank you too. I have one last question that keeps popping up. They want to know, how is one affected if they already opted out online? Are they able to participate?
I don't know. So you've just opted out saying, I'm not taking the Medicare Advantage plan. I want to keep my Medigap plan, and I'm willing to pay the $191 a month to do it.
Rather than fight it, yes.
My gut.
Tell you what their fear is. Their fear is that if we wait too long, that their opt-out form won't get filed timely, and then they'll be stuck in a plan they don't want to be in. And this is the constant questioning, the constant comments that we're getting, because we keep insisting that they wait. And yet people who didn't receive their official packages yet already got these documents online and already opted out online.
Right. I think, look, if we're successful in getting the injunction, then I think one of the things you ask the judge to do is hold everything in place as it was a year ago, keep the new stuff at bay. So anybody who has already opted out should not be charged. That's a request.
Okay.
But if the request is keep what's in place already, do not take this new opt-in, opt-out until it's properly negotiated or resolved by the court, probably will get out of it.
Okay, that's hopeful.
But again, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
It's my middle name these days.
Crapshoot. Does anyone on the board have any questions or anything else that they want to ask before we let Steve go, and then we can finish the Q&A with the board ourselves?
I just want to ask quickly, in terms of civil procedure, and I'm sorry if I might have missed this. In terms of civil procedure, Steve, does this ultimately morph into a class action suit?
Well, it's a class of people using the Article 78 procedure. It's a they're parallel, but it's a class of people, those who are Medicare eligible, but it uses a particular part of civil procedure called the Article 78. So it's a combination of the two.
Thank you.
It's not just a normal, we're going to start you could start a class action that a different approach and say, but this uses something that's targeted just for this, which is an action by, a government authority that exceeded its authority. So it's a more efficient way to represent the class than just starting a general class action. And it gets much faster response. Article 78 gets much faster attention from a judge.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, Steve, I will let you go. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate all your time. And if anyone has their collective bargaining agreements from when they retired, or any extrinsic evidence as Steve has requested, please contact us through our Facebook page or through our email address, which is posted on our page, or reach out to one of us. You'll find us under admins under our page. Feel free, please, to contact us and give us those documents so we can pass them along expeditiously to Steve's office. Steve, again, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Good to talk to you all. Take care.
Thanks, Dave.
I'm gonna go find it's funny, I had a passenger and I threw him out of the car so we could have this conversation. And he's somewhere over there. I'm gonna go find him. See
ya.
All
right, well, thank you.
Bye.
Okay, great. So let's pick up and see if there's any questions before we end this, if there's anything else that we missed. Michelle, did you see if there's any questions that we missed as we were scrolling through?
Majority of them got answered, and the questions were posted before the lawyer started to speak.
Yeah, those I tried to scroll backwards as well.
Right, and anything on a sidebar, I tried to, just kind of answer it as it was scrolling, just to reinforce people, and say, listen, yes, we know. And there was, somebody on the sidebar was like, well, a retiree was like, well, we pay dues, don't we? And I think they were referring to like the DC 37, $3 out of the pension check for the Retirees Association,
right.
if I'm wrong. Right. So that's not, our union 3621, 2507
Right. So there's a difference between a retiree organization dues and a union dues. If you're paying a DC 37 retirees, or like from our organization, not as in this organization, but EMS Retirees Association, you'll pay $30 a year or $25 a year, $36 a year. That is for a retiree organization. Those retiree organizations have no collective bargaining rights whatsoever. So it's important for you to remember that is once you retire, you're no longer an employee. You don't have the benefits of an employee, which is collective bargaining, grievance procedures, all those lovely things. So that makes a difference.
Yeah. So Annette Portolano, if I got it right, posted a question. She says, I'm 60, retired, receive SSI. Does this affect me? Yes, it does. Because a lot of people I notice think when they hear Medicare, they automatically assume that they're over 65 years old. If you are receiving SSD or SSI on a 3-quarter retirement and so on, and you get Medicare as your primary, then yes, it does affect you. You don't have to be 65 or older for this to affect you.
Correct. And part of the problem with that came from the city themselves. And some of these town halls that came out was because it was referred to as an over 65 insurance plan. It really shouldn't be referred to as that. It's an over 65 or if you're on disability. And those are the two criteria which would put you on Medicare.
There's also a few questions regarding the UFT's retirees who pay dues.
Yes.
Again, even though you pay dues to the UFT and you can vote in certain things at their meetings as a retired member, you do not get to vote in contract negotiations. You do not get to vote for changes to your health benefits. You're excluded from that event entirely. So you are still part of this suit.
Tom Tuna, you said, please remind the attorney that there's a New York City Municipal Library at 31 Chambers Street. Yes, we are aware of that. We're also aware of the Town Mint Library through NYU that has a lot of documents, Wagner Museum. Those are all resources that we actually have people going to. If we need something from a library that we can't get someone to in Manhattan, we will surely post it. And if someone can get down there and do that homework with us, we'll let you know.
Bobby, I would like to thank all the groups and for the people who are joining the 2 pages, the PTTM and our organization. And I know when they do the mass push for invites for their friends, we have a lot pending, but the problem is that the 3 questions that are being asked are not being answered. So if you know someone that says, oh, well, I didn't get in, it's been over a week. Yeah, we just can't let every silly-nilly, I can't say even silly-nilly, but just, we can't just let everybody in because until they answer the questions. We're already having side quell fires here and there, with people trying to get on the page that don't belong or trying to debunk this whole organization. So that's why, we put the questions forth, and, please tell your friends, if you invite them, answer so that we can approve the membership, and then they can start, reading the post and tell a friend on what's going on, because some people don't know. They're not Facebook savvy, they're not tech savvy, so we don't have the money or the means to send out flyers and junk mail like Joe Namath and the rest of them do with the Medicare Advantage plans and so on and so forth. We don't have that type of money, so we're relying on all of you in the membership to do this. Please get the word out, and if somebody's not technically challenged or is technically challenged, explain it to them, and then if they have questions, bring it to the membership posts, and we'll try to get to it. Or there is an email address for us. Put it in an email.
Yes.
Mike has his hand up.
Go ahead, Mike.
I'd like to point out that there was a very erudite, very scholarly group who put together 43 very highly technical, nuanced, mechanical questions about this Medicare Advantage plan. And those questions were sent out to entities like the OLR, the MLC, Emblem Health, et cetera, and they were never as a set, they were never, and there's the operative word, answered. We are going to be uploading those questions onto PTPM's Facebook group, and I encourage all members to download those questions and send them out to all the stakeholders who control this game, like your city council, the mayor, your union reps, Michael Mulgrew, MLC, DC 37, et cetera. Hold them accountable by blitzing them with these questions. Send them to the insurance companies. Send them to the agencies that regulate the insurance companies on a state and federal level. Send them to your federal representatives. It's important that we put the questions in their ball court, because the longer and the more that they do not answer those questions, the stronger we build our case. Again, those questions will be found under the file section of PTPM. They will be uploaded tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I also want to let you know that there's an organization that you will have seen a flyer both on our page and the PTPM page about a scheduled street action that they're planning on September 24th called a Die-In, D-I-E, Die-In. And if you're interested, we will post the flyer, we'll post the information. The date is the 24th. They're looking to have patients that you'll lie down on the floor and die. So they're looking to hold that rally, and they're still looking for volunteers. So if you're interested in going, I will post that information for you. The contact info, they're looking that you email the person to let them know that you are willing to come, or how many people you are bringing with you to help support that. Kenny, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just sent a letter to my Congressman Lee Zeldin about this. So I don't know what kind of response I'm going to get from him. But I also know a retired detective sergeant from NYPD who has HIP. And he says, well, it's just another HIP plan. He's not overly excited about being switched into this plan because the HIP plan is a Medicare Advantage plan. So I don't know what kind of response you've had from retirees with a HIP plan. The
retiree responses we've had is from the HIP members in HIP is that they don't want to leave HIP. That's what they've told us.
Even though this plan seems to be pretty much the same, because HIP, with my case, I had HIP since 1952 when my father went to work for the sanitation department. So I was at HIP from 1952 until about 10 years ago. And what HIP had was this drug plan assigned to it. And I got a letter from the city telling me I have to quit my military drug program. I have TRICARE for life. I have a third health plan. And there's no donut hole. There's none of that nonsense in there. So I had to do the once-in-a-lifetime switch from HIP into the GHI senior care. So otherwise they were ordering me to drop my my military coverage. So,
Yeah, we've seen that in a couple of examples with retirees, and that information was given to the attorney as well, because there are several members throughout the city that has some specific circumstances that they have a third party or a non-city Part D plan for specific purposes. Sometimes there's a cap in place, but the minute that you enroll into a Medicare Advantage plan, you tend to lose that program, or they've been warned they will lose that program. So that's something that we are aware of, and we're hoping will get addressed when this package comes in the mail, or we'll just add that to the pile that we address with Steve.
I also got a couple of questions from fellas about the the Aetna plan. And I understand that Aetna plan is available, but if you want it, you have to do a once in a lifetime change to get into it in order to have it when 2022 comes into play.
So
you can't normally change into it normally with the change period. In other words, in that period from November into early December, when you can change, you can't change that way. You have to do once in a lifetime change.
Like I said before, this forum was strictly for organizational questions. With the questions that you're posing, I understand are extremely important, but yet we have not received those packages yet. We still have a window open between now and October 31st, and hopefully at that point that we'll be able to get this injunction filed and it'll put a pause on this whole thing. If not, we will have a subsequent meeting, which obviously you will be involved in because you are now a trustee, and we will be able to answer that question. I've seen the same emails you have, and it's concerning because it's been outside the unofficial realm. And if you do have to invoke that once in a lifetime, people should definitely know that they can do that, and we will make sure that we have a clear answer for you for that. Just go ahead.
Is it right now the city is not allowing transfers of plans in October? So you either stay with what you have, if it's GHI, senior care, and go into the Medicare Advantage plan, or you opt out. They're not allowing people to transfer to Aetna. They're not allowing transfers to any of the other plans. So we're not advising anybody to do anything transferring plan-wise right now. This is just hold fast. You have till the 31st to opt out. Hopefully we'll get the injunction before then. Just stand the course. And, I see people posting on DC 37 Med Team not telling you to leave. As far as I know, DC 37 Med Team is not being forced into the MA. It's only for senior care. Anybody on GHI senior care. So unless you're on GHI senior care, I don't believe, from what the information we've seen, that you're being forced into this MA plan. Okay? And just in closing, and so we're going to try and wrap this up a little bit tonight. September 11th is quickly approaching us. The board, our board, as well as PTM, will be shut down. We're going to shut our board down Friday at 11:59 p.m. and it will remain closed until Saturday at midnight. It will reopen during that point of time to allow everybody to reflect on 9/11, to give us a chance not to have to monitor this, and to be able to pay respect to all that were killed on that day. So thank you very much, and I wanted to just tell you we're all in this together. We're fighting as hard as we can, and we hope to have updates to a lot of your other questions in the next week or so. I would hope. We'll let you guys know ahead of time for our next town hall meeting, and unless anybody else has any major things, I would make a motion that we close the meeting at this time.
Go ahead, Michelle.
I just want to, again, as much as hard work and dedication and the time that we're spending, and we're all in this together, you have to tell people they need to donate, because we cannot move forward if the donations don't come in, and you can't wait till the last minute because, it doesn't help. So again, just please donate so that we can definitely, we can move forward with this and not have.
We have 2,000 members, and we've only have about, what did you say, 600 and some odd donations?
600.
600 donations. So, listen, we're almost halfway there, and this is just, unfortunately, a possible drop in the bucket because, like you heard the lawyer say, if this has to go further, it's going to cost us a lot more money. We could be looking at $200,000 or more. So, even though $50,000 is our goal, we have operating expenses of around $2,000. We really want to raise at least 55. This way we have a little bit of money for operating expenses left. And we're going to have to continue to fundraise even after we hit the 50,000 for that ultimate lawsuit, which is where we want to get it. Unless the judge finds and throws it out on the city. But that's just wishful thinking on my half. But, so please, dig into your pocket. It's less than probably going out for a hamburger and fries on a weekday, and and send us what you can.
2 Starbucks coffees.
All Starbucks coffees, exactly.
Hi, John.
So I just want to, go ahead, Madeline.
I would just like to say that although we have received 600 donations, numerous donations are duplicates. People have donated and then donated again a second time. So it's actually fewer than 600 people. And some people, they're being very generous. The highest donation we've seen is $200. A lot of $100 donations, $75, $50. So it's not limited at $25. And we understand that not everyone can donate. Everyone's in a different financial situation. But we do ask that if you can't donate financially, please spread the word to others and let people know what we're about.
Very good. That's some very good points. So if you can encourage people today, I hope with this town hall that we just held, that it puts some of your concerns at ease, that you got to meet almost the entire board this time. You met the attorney, you heard answers to your questions. I know we probably didn't answer all of your questions, but we will go back and look through the chat and go back and answer them, so they'll go back and look later. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate you all being here. To the board members, I know, Kenny, you still had questions for us, but what I will do is that you and I will chat after our chat, and then we will have a board meeting where you can ask all the questions from your group, and then we will get you answers to bring back to all of your members. Everyone here, thank you for meeting. It's 5:13. So I'm going to call the end of this meeting unless anyone has anything else to say, and I wish you all a very good weekend.
Never forget the events of 9/11.
Never forget. Amen.
Nope.
So thank you, everyone. We will reconvene again soon. Have a good weekend. The board will get together, send you an email. This video will be reposted online, and then I will try to record it and upload it into YouTube so that you can share it with your non-Facebook friends. So I know that's another concern. So give me a little while to do that. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Lee, you're muted, Lee.